Hi everyone, my name is Josh and welcome back to the Prem Roundup. The first weekend of the season's officially wrapped up, so I'm here to go through some of the games and give my thoughts on them. As always, drop a comment below on your thoughts on the first week of the season, and let's get into it, starting with the first game of the season, Manchester United versus Fulham. A 1-0 victory for United in a pretty odd match, I thought. Obviously, it's the first game of the season, so players are coming back and regaining some full fitness and sharpness, and they're going to be a little off and not really up to it like they would be mid-season. Starting with Fulham, I wasn't surprised to see Diop partnering Bassey at center back, and I'm assuming if Diego Carlos goes through that he's going to take that spot and it'll be Bassey and Carlos moving forward. Going forward, in attack, they had a lot of pace, and I think throughout the season, particularly against the bigger teams, they'll be very dangerous on the counter-attack, especially when you got players like Muniz, Emile Smith-Rowe. They're going to get going up, popping some 1-2s, really counter-attacking strongly. I thought Muniz was incredible up front. He was being physical, and he created a couple good chances for himself, just really couldn't put them away, and I think especially against some of the teams that are closer to Fulham on the table, he's going to be a real problem, and he's going to pick up a good amount of goals this year. I thought they played a really good game in general, Fulham. They just had that one lapse of concentration for the goal, and that's really what kills you when you play those bigger teams. As far as for Manchester United, it definitely wasn't the prettiest of games for them, but 3 points is 3 points, and that's definitely what they needed to start their season on the right foot. They were playing with Mason Mount and Bruno sort of as a strike partnership up top, and I hope it's the last time we see that. I didn't think Mount was very good at all, and Bruno created some chances, but I think he is much better playing behind the striker as a number 10, as he has for most of his time at United. Going forward, I think Xerxes should be starting no matter what. I was surprised that he didn't start, and then when he came on, he was one of United's best players. His link-up play was really good, and then his finishing, especially on the goal, what a finish. I mean, just to guide the ball right into that bottom left corner, incredible. I thought it was a really good goal. I thought he was fantastic when he came on, and he should be starting here on out, and when Rasmus Højlund comes back, Højlund's going to have to earn that starting spot back. It was nice to see Lisandro Martinez looking back like his old self. I'm real curious to see what the back four for United's going to look like once everybody's fully fit. I would imagine it'll be De Ligt and Martinez at center back, but not positive on that. You never know with Ten Hag. He's a bit of a freak. Overall for United, that's exactly what you wanted out of the game. They kept the clean sheet and they got the 3 points, and that's what mattered. The next game I want to talk about was the big one of the weekend, Manchester City versus Chelsea. A 2-0 win to City, and I thought Chelsea were really poor throughout the game, mainly going forward. I thought Romeo Lavia in the middle of the park was probably the player that shined brightest for Chelsea, but going forward is all just a mess. I mean, they created a good amount of chances, and I think any team that's playing against City when they don't have Rodri or John Stones is going to create a good amount of chances. It's just whether they can finish them or not, and Chelsea's finishing was horrible. Nicholas Jackson, I have no idea why he's standing offside on that chance in the first half. He has no reason to be standing offside, and I'm pretty sure he did a similar thing to this last year, so I don't understand how this is still a problem for him. It's such a stupid mistake to make at this level, and it's one he shouldn't be making. He should know better than to do that. I mean, he's literally looking right across the line. He should be able to see, hey, I'm offside. I should not be offside. To me, there was sort of a real lack of energy and fight from the Chelsea players, it felt like, and it didn't really seem like the crowd was getting behind them either, you know, especially as they're sitting there chanting Conor Gallagher's name as he's not on the pitch, not playing, looking to leave the club. I think it's going to be really tough for Chelsea to find a consistent lineup throughout the season just with the sheer amount of players that they have. It's going to be tough. There's already a ton of stuff in the press, you know, Raheem Sterling's camp coming out with that statement saying they're committed to the club when he's left out of the squad. There's so many other players. I saw a quote about Mudryk this morning. I mean, they need to offload some players and try to create a consistent lineup for them to find their best lineup. And finding their best lineup is going to be very tough when you have 44 players on the squad. The last thing on Chelsea, I want to say Sanchez, not good enough in goal. He gets a hand to that second goal that Kovacic scored. Probably should be saving that. And just overall, they just seemed shaky when they were playing out of the back with him, and he put some defenders in some really tough spots, especially on that Kovacic goal when Fofana's trying to just hoof it downfield because he's been put in a horrible spot. If you're going to play out from the back, you need to have players that can do it, and it doesn't seem like Sanchez is one that can do it. As far as City, Haaland's inevitable. You always knew he was probably going to score. I thought Jeremy Doku was pretty good going forward, but his end product still is sort of the same as it was last year. You know, he's electric on the ball. He's got skills to pay the bills, but his end product just really not getting there. I was surprised to see Savinho start over Grealish. Everything that I heard was that Grealish was having a really good preseason, and I figured he would be in line to start, and then he didn't, and then Foden came off the bench instead of him as well. So we'll see what the future holds for Jack Grealish. I really thought he was due to have a big season this year if he can stay fit, and I hope that he can have a good season and stay fit. I like Grealish as a player. I honestly almost wish he would leave City and go somewhere where he can sort of express his creative freedom again and not sort of play in this robotic system. To me, I don't think Phil Foden looked great on the right, and I don't think he looked good coming on as a sub. Obviously, he's just coming back from the Euros and hasn't had a whole lot of time with the squad, so I'm sure that plays a part in it, but he really needs to get back to where he was last year, being able to work centrally and really impact the games. City didn't play a great game, but at the end of the day, City, they always seem to find a way. My real worry with them starts at the back. I don't think Ederson looked very comfortable, and without Rodri, they're incredibly vulnerable. They concede a lot of chances. John Stones probably plays a part in that as well. Once they get back, I'm assuming it'll be smooth sailing as usual for Man City, but I believe Rodri's out until early September, so they got a couple games here where they're really going to have to hunker down to make sure that they get 3 points from them. Some quick recaps around the league, as other games didn't really stand out as much as these two. Liverpool 2, Ipswich 0. I thought, especially in the first half, Ipswich really took the game to Liverpool, and that's really key to their survival when they're playing at home. Take the game to the big teams, let the crowd get behind you, use that as your energy. Liverpool, they looked pretty decent. Still need to figure out that holding midfield area, and Salah's gonna be a key player for them. Obviously, he was involved in both goals. And Arsenal 2, Wolves 0. Pretty routine early season game for Arsenal. Saka's picking up right where he left off, but the midfield with Partey is pretty concerning to me. Also, Mascara for Wolves, you're a dirty little freak. That's all I gotta say on that. Big one for Arsenal coming up against Villa this weekend. Definitely game of the weekend. Everton 0, Brighton 3. Classic early season Danny Welbeck performance. I said it in my preview video. Ashley Young should not be on the pitch for Everton at all anymore at this point. Get somebody else out there. You could pull a fan out of the stands and he'd probably do a better job than Ashley Young did. Newcastle 1, Southampton 0. Fabian Schär needs to be smarter than that. He's way too experienced to be overreacting over something like that. But also, to me, I don't understand how VAR doesn't look at that and take that red card away. There's barely any contact there. It's so obvious that he just sold the contact and dropped straight to the floor. I think it's a bit ridiculous. I think yellow at most in that situation. Forest 1, Bournemouth 1. Brutal injury to Danilo, hoping for a speedy recovery for him. Chris Wood's firing already, just picking up where he left off. But a really unfortunate way for Forest to concede that goal. Almost really feels like 2 points lost more than a point won. West Ham 1, Aston Villa 2. A lot of missed chances for both teams. Villa really needs to sharpen up next week at home against Arsenal. Brentford 2, Crystal Palace 1. I thought Eberechi Eze's goal in the first half should have counted. I think that's ridiculous ruling by the officials. Wissa and Mbeumo step up without Ivan Toney. The rumors are that Ivan Toney is out and wants to go, and he's most likely heading to Saudi, it looks like, at this point, which is a bit unfortunate because I think Toney's a really good striker, and I think he should be playing in a higher level than the Saudi league. But here we are. Can Wissa and Mbeumo keep up that form and sort of carry the attack for them if Toney leaves or while Toney's out? Tottenham 1, Leicester 1. The Fighting Foxes clawed a point back. I still don't like their chances of staying up even without a points deduction. I just don't think that team's going to be very good. And for Tottenham, I mean, it's the same song and dance. Couldn't finish their chances. They let up too many chances because of the way that they play. It's always going to be that way. You got to get Solanke firing. And that is it for this week. We've got some interesting matchups next week, biggest one being Arsenal versus Aston Villa. But we've also got Brighton and United, which always seems to be a good game. And Chelsea Wolves should be a pretty good game. Also, Palace and West Ham should be a pretty good game. So make sure you come back next week for a recap of all the action. And as always, don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment on your thoughts of the first week of the season. Have a good one, guys.
Don't push me, cause I'm close.